My first car I bought on my own was a Rabbit that was from a wrecking yard. So I saved it from a salvage yard. So it needed work. I had to fix it if I wanted to drive it, so that's how I started. There was a shop up in North Seattle, which from my house it was like over an hour away, but they were looking for a shop helper. I did that. I worked there for I think like 3 years, and they kind of like I do now, they kind of do a lot of different stuff, maintenance, performance, kind of everything in between. Mostly just Volkswagen and Audi, and then he was like one of the old air-cooled guys, so a lot of old air-cooled stuff. So I got my feet wet in a lot of stuff doing that. Lots of variety. I installed this is a new engine. Well, so this one is a direct injected turbocharged 4-cylinder engine. With the grip capabilities of the car, the oil control becomes a problem because the car wasn't designed to do track use. It's a street car. It's meant for driving on the road and having fun when you're driving. So it's not really meant or designed for the G-forces that come into play when you're on track. So the oil control adds reliability to the engine, which isn't designed for racing. So a racing engine will have all that stuff integrated into the design, whereas we're trying to take a production street car and make it last for racing. People think that like being a mechanic means you know everything, like you know how everything works in every car and you know what the problems are. Like, so if someone says, oh, my car is doing this or that, the expectation is you just know what it is. But the truth is a real mechanic or a good mechanic really doesn't know much, and they have a really strong mechanical understanding of the basics of how engines and transmissions and drivetrain systems work. Then the rest of it, it's basically packaging. It just looks different, but the function's all the same because they are really fairly simple. An engine's a fairly simple creature, but it does it in a very complicated way to meet all the current emission standards, power demands, what people want for creature comforts. That's where you get all of this complexity. His business it's called structural steel detailing. And so what that is you essentially take the architectural drawing set for a building and the structural drawing set. So there's a structural engineer, there's an architectural engineer. They both draw the building how they think it needs to be. And essentially what we would do is we would take those two sets of drawings and then build it in a 3D model and real size. And so the reason we would do that is because we would be contracted by the fabrication shops that need to build the building framing and structure out of big steel beams and stuff. So we would create the drawings that they would build the parts for, and then we'd make erection drawings, meaning it's like a builder set. So you get your Lincoln Log set or your Lego set, and it has a instruction set in it with a list of all the parts and where the parts go and how many of this you need for this piece and set. And then there's steps to build it. So that's what we would make. A 3D model meant it was wildly accurate in the field. So doing it by hand, there's a lot of room for mistakes and errors, and calculation errors that would cause major expensive problems trying to build the structure. And these are generally monster buildings. So when I was working there, he had just finished doing some roof work at Husky Stadium. So if you can picture that huge steel structure up there, beams and everything. So, it was literally drawing bolts and then putting a bolt to a plate and, you know, putting the hole in it. Just these really simple things, but you would do it in this massive model in 3D so that it was very accurate. I did the lodge at Suncadia, the big lodge. So I drew a significant amount of that building in 3D. My dad's done a ton of stuff. I mean, if you drive around the Issaquah, Renton area, like most any bridge that was constructed in the, you know, this was a little while ago, so, you know, 90s and 2000s, early 2000s. I mean, he did a ton of that stuff. So downtown Seattle, downtown Redmond, I think we did 3 or 4 of the Microsoft office buildings there in Redmond, and that's where I learned how to draw in 3D. So now there's things like 3D printers, and now we can literally fabricate and make car parts because of what we did building buildings. Me and my brother were fighting, you know, figure it out. Like, you guys figure it out on your own. When it came to fixing cars, the same thing, you know, figure it out. You know, you can do it, just there's tools, go fix it. This job takes a lot of personal motivation. You can't teach motivation, you know, you can help with it, but if the person's not motivated on their own, doing this line of work will be very difficult. I mean, just because of where we're at and everything, I mean, you know, hard work is the root of everything. You know, if you put your time in, you know, good things will happen. The longer I'm here, the more I just want to hang out with my kids and my wife. Quality over quantity is a big one, and that goes for a lot of things. You know, I've been pretty vigilant about taking at least 2 days off a week in which I completely separate from the shop. My kids are getting older, so we, like last winter, we got a truck with a truck bed camper in it. And so pretty much every weekend we went to a new ski area. So we took them all over the state. We went over to Idaho, and sometimes we go to Montana and Oregon. So driving around, skiing and snowboarding, in the wintertime, that's what we do. I mean, in the summertime, I race motocross, so we do a lot of dirt bike riding, we do a lot of skateboarding. So they do a lot of stuff I like to do, so that makes it easy to do stuff on my off time. That's what we're doing, is usually playing.